this is Ken at Capital Advantage Tutoring. I'm going to help you. I've seen a couple questions, topics pop up. So I have 3 questions that are going to mirror what you might see on the real Series 7 exam. We're going to go through 3 questions and work through them. They're not super hard, but they do make you think a little different. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the first one. A customer asks his RR for the most appropriate investment product that has low fees and no investment product maturity date. These are key. Which of the following investment products should the RR recommend to the customer? Okay, so first of all, they want no low fees. You have to think, okay, what has low fees? Usually mutual funds are not that. So we're going to cross those out and say, you know what? We're going to throw them out and say, you know what? We're not going to count those because mutual funds, unless it says an index fund, okay, usually has higher fees. So their fees are a part of it. So now we're between A and D. Both ETFs and UATs have low fees. We agree on that. Now, the next part is no investment product maturity date. Here's the thing. UATs, for the most part, they buy bonds. And remember, they don't trade them. They kind of supervise. So they're not actually trading them. They just buy the bonds and let them run their course. So, and they don't change the portfolio. So if they buy, $3 million worth of bonds, when those bonds mature, the UIT is gone. So that would actually almost have a maturity date. So we're going to throw that out too. Boom. So it has to be an indexed ETF. Because remember, ETFs, they have lower fees, and in index, they're not paying a lot of fees. It's not really for income. You're doing it for growth, and the fees are not big, and you're going to make some money. So that's what we go letter D. I was going to say number D, letter D. Okay, onward. Now this one drove me nuts. Okay, it actually just drove me nuts when I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what the hell do I give them? And then I have to remember my mantra of, all the answers are easy, okay? There's always an easy out, okay? There's always an easy out, so press pause, try to work through this, and I'll wait. Okay, yeah. So number 36, a customer holds a convertible bond with a sizable paper loss. If she wants to make a gift to her child, which of the following actions should she take to derive the greatest tax benefit? Give the bond outright to a child. Some alert came up. Convert the bond into common stock and give the stock to the child. What is this child doing? Okay. Sell the bond and give the cash proceeds to the child. Sell the bond, repurchase it on the day following the sale and give it to the child. So I'm going through this going, okay, bond, it's a long-term gain. I'm like, the bond's this or the bond's that, all this crazy shit. I'm going back and forth in my head, because you know what happens when you're in the middle of the test. Sometimes you're not fucking rational. Sometimes you're not thinking the right way. You're not processing. Like sometimes you ever had that where you look at a question and you're like so stumped by it. And then later when you see the answer, you're like, how did I not fucking see that, right? So that's what's happening here. I did this and I didn't have an idea. So I went down this and I said, oh, wait a second. It has to be easy. This is another one that has to be easy, okay? So, okay, well, let's say I don't know about these two, but I go, oh, wait a second. Let's make it black lines instead of white lines. You can't do white lines. Okay. There. So I'm going to say these two are kind of doing opposite things. So I'm going to lean toward this. Okay. Now give the bond outright to the child. Yeah. That means literally A and B, there should be no difference. Okay. But now I look at this. Oh, sell the bond. That actually reading D triggered it. Okay. Once I read D, I know what I was looking for. And I'll explain why. Sell the bond and repurchase it the day following. So that would be a wash trade, right? So when you sell something for a loss, because then I went back and go, wait a second, there has to be something. Boom. She has a loss. She wants to realize that loss. She's got to realize it, okay? So I said, okay, we're going to realize the loss. A and B, no difference, right? Because you don't take the loss because you're just moving it on. But you're going to sell it and take the loss. But if you do D as in David, you're going to have a wash trade. Selling the bond and buying it the next day. Remember, wash trade, if you sell a stock for a loss and buy back within 30 days forward or backwards, you're disallowing your loss. You can't take it yet. So that is out. It can't be D, so it has to be C. So here's what it is. She's going to sell the bond, take the actual realized loss. Paper loss is an unrealized gain. Or loss. That's that shit that some of the Democrats want to do. Not the real ones, but the radical ones. One is start taxing unrealized gains, which is not a thing. You can't do that. They're going to find a way, but whatever. So now, so you can't even get a tax break for a paper loss. So then this way, she's going to realize the loss, get to take a deduction on a capital gains and some of her ordinary income, $3,000 a year, right? And carry forward the rest and give the cash to the kid. So there you go. The kid gets a boatload of money. She gets a loss and everyone's happy. So the answer on this is letter C. Sell the bond, take the tax loss. You can get a deduction and then give the cash proceeds to your damn ungrateful child. Okay, another one. This is very much like, it's not hard, but just takes a little processing, right? You got to work through it. So again, press pause, try to figure it out, and then we'll talk about it. I'll just wait here. Don't worry about it. Oh, you press pause. You don't have to wait. Okay. So a customer wants to minimize your tax obligations. Again, just like the other one. What is this? Are they rich? They just don't want to have any tax problems? It's crazy shit. Okay. By the way, this is my greatest stat. I want you to put it into the chat. What percentage of U.S. households do not pay federal tax? Everyone put that in the chat. Tell me you think. Lock it in, and I'll tell you the answer at the end. Lock it in before you got to type it in. Press pause, type it in the chat now, and tell me what time you typed it in, and I'll tell you the answer at the end. And it'll blow your damn mind. A customer wants to minimize her tax obligations has a common stock. Ooh, let me start over again. A customer wants to minimize her tax obligations and has a common stock. That's awkward wording. That she purchased over several years while the stock was slowly declining in price. Sounds like when I buy shit, it goes the wrong way. So basically, you should have a reverse Ken index, like they have a reverse Kramer thing. Reverse Ken. Anything I buy, just short it. Anything when I sell something, once I sell something, even for a profit, watch this thing is going to go to the moon. So in this case, it's going down. Which of the following cost basis methods will give her the lowest tax obligations? Okay, average cost you really can't do. So it's either low cost first out. Never heard of that. It sounds cool though. And remember, went the lowest tax obligations, which means we either want to show a loss or have a high cost basis that's close to the proceeds, so you don't pay a lot of taxes. So last in, first out. So that means last in, first out means the recent stuff is going to be the first thing you sell. But if the stock's dropping from like 50 to 45 to 40 to 35, which is what mine would do, then you sell stock. Your last in, first out means you're using the stock you bought at 35, and say you sold it at 37, you're going to have a $2 gain. That's not great. I mean, it's a gain is good, but it goes that way. However, if you do first in, first out, you do it, say it goes 50, 45, 40, 35. You're going to use a stock you bought at 50 because that's the first shit you bought. You buy that at 50, you sell it at 30. You actually have a loss. Instead of a $2 gain, you have a $15 loss on the same action. So when the stocks when prices are dropping down, FIFO will give you the better tax benefit. When stocks are rising, LIFO would give you the better tax benefit. So let's say they were going up, you'd rather sell the shares that you bought at the higher price, which should be the later shares. So on a rising market, LIFO might be better for you. On a dropping market, a shitty market, what I do, you do FIFO. Okay, those are three good questions that make you think a little bit. I want you to understand these looked hard, but they're not that bad. And that's the test. Remember, part of this is that you have to keep in your mind, this epiphany I had about 20 years ago, all the questions are easy. Yeah, there's always a couple of screw you, they meet, like the test writer's mad at their wife or something questions, but most of them are easy, even if they're hidden and like couched in like hard theories, hard questions. They actually are always easy, and they always go, okay, there has to be something that triggers, that gets me to think the right way. And that's what this one, the bigger one was this one, right? Because you had she had a loss, and that was the thing. Okay, she had a loss. If this wasn't the loss, I don't know what I would choose. But since we had a loss, we knew how to realize that loss. Now, back to my last question. What percentage of households pay no federal tax? That means no federal income tax. Do you think it's 5%? Do you think it's 10%, 30%, 1%? The top, those billionaires don't pay any federal taxes? No, 47% of U.S. households in the U.S. pay no federal taxes because that's, their income is low. And another 5% of that are considered creditors where they get money from the government. Okay, and that's fine. So the reason I bring that up is not to say anything bad. It's like, so that's why I go with the rich people buy munis, rich people buy munis, poor people buy corporates, and wimps buy treasuries. So the point is, most of the world, most of the U.S. will not buy munis because literally half of them are not paying federal taxes anyway. So it's like the top 15, 20% that munis might work out for you. Anyway, just a little tidbit. Okay, thanks a lot. Don't forget, I do every Tuesday and Thursday night. I do a live Q&A on the Tube of You at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Those are my favorite nights. And I also do some membership stuff. You join the membership, we get classes on Friday nights and my amazing options videos. Okay, you all have a good night. I hope this helped a little bit, and I'll see you on the other side.